though I'm 34 and I've been acting for 15 years and I've kind of ventured into a food business, I still don't have that mold where I'm like, I already know that I'm going to be this for the rest of my life. We always have room for more and more dreams.
Welcome to another episode of Neo Retro 105.9's Casual Conversations. Today's guest, I'm so excited because she is no stranger to the podcast platform, as she used to have her own show with episode 1's guest, Nicole Asensio. She's also been a guest on many podcasts, and other than that, she's also an actress, an advocate, a mom, and I'm pretty sure she dominates in other areas that my little research did not get to. Please welcome to the show, Max Eigenmann.
Hello, everybody. It's so nice to be here. Thank you so much for that, Ryan. I'm so excited to be here. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much. But that was supposed to be my first question. No, I always want to start with how are you? Just because, obviously the pandemic, COVID-19 happened. A lot of things are happening in the Philippines right now, political-wise. So how are you is what I want to ask.
I'm actually doing pretty good. Of course, I'm sure just like everybody else, a lot of people suffered during the beginning of the pandemic last year. But I think that we're on our 8th month in 2021. It's turning around a little bit for me, and I'm quite excited for that.
Isn't that crazy though?
Yeah.
8th month of 2021.
Right? I'm
8th.
sorry for reminding everybody that.
8th. Like as of recording, we're in August.
Yes, we are. August 2nd.
Yes.
Or 3rd.
And in a few days, we're about to enter another round of ECQ, which is crazy to me. How do you feel about that?
You know what? I think that after a year, more than a year of being in and out of lockdown, GCQ, MECQ, and all that, I'm a little bit jaded. I'm just like, oh, okay, another one. I'm prepared.
Mm-hmm.
Above everything, I'm more prepared than I was before. It's only 2 weeks. I guess that's a silver lining.
Yeah, that's true. I was listening to a song this morning. I forget, and I'm a DJ. Shame on me. But it said something about like my mom always told me to find the sun in a cloudy day, and I'm like, oh, you are right. At least it's 2 weeks. For now, anyway, as of recording.
Yes.
We never know. But more than being prepared, I think I'm just mad. Not to be too political. I'm so sorry. We can cut this out if ever. But I'm just mad more than anything. I feel like the pandemic could have been handled a little bit better, but that's just my 2 cents worth. What does a 24-year-old know?
No, I agree with you in every way, trust me. But I think that more than anything, how we feel and how we react to the things that are out of our control is what kind of matters on how we deal with the pandemic anyway.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, as much as I would like the situation to be handled differently, I can't really do anything much about it. So just the fact that I'm like, okay, it's just 2 weeks. I'm going to make the most out of it. And then when the government decides that it's ready for me to take over the world again, then I'm going to do it.
Do you have any plans for the said 2 weeks?
Well, I was supposed to be working this month.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, those things are going to be rescheduled. So as soon as the ECQ is over, hopefully it is over in 2 weeks, then I'm gonna go straight to work.
Got it. Me on the other hand, I had just this morning I had this idea that I'm gonna start a vlog for just for those 2 weeks, because I was sharing to Max over here off the air that I gained a lot of weight, yo. I gained a lot of weight during the pandemic, and I feel like a lot of people can relate to that. Maybe also on the flip side of things, a lot of people also lost weight during the pandemic. Like a lot of them started like home workout videos and regimens and whatnot. So that's what I plan on doing for the 2 weeks that we have in ECQ. And I understand the privilege that comes with that statement. But that is my plan. How about you, though, as far as new skills are concerned? Because you know how a lot of people during the pandemic, they became plantitos out of nowhere.
Yes, a lot of people did.
Yes, plantitas. They also became chefs. A lot of them became movie connoisseurs as well.
Connoisseurs.
Fancy term.
Movie connoisseurs. No, just kidding.
But like... I have a friend out of nowhere got into the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe, and this is the kind of person that I grew up with and never knew to be a big fan of Iron Man, Doctor Strange, and all those characters. Right? How about you though? Did you pick up any new skill? Did you become a plantita?
I actually did not. But I think the skill that I learned, and I'm actually pretty proud of it, is not common, I think.
Ooh.
Because I've always loved to cook. Okay, I love to cook. I'll tell you guys a little bit about that after I tell you my new skill.
Okay.
I taught myself how to gut a fish.
Wow.
Because usually you buy fish you have it done at the grocery store. But here you pick up and go, right? You don't have time to freaking wait for the fishmonger to clean the guts out for you. So I Googled stuff. I Googled videos on how to gut a specific fish, which is the pompano. And I learned how to do it. I taught myself.
How hard was it to learn? I mean,
if you can just get over the fact that fish guts is not the best smelling thing,
I'm pretty sure.
then it's actually quite easy. You just have to pay attention. I know that wasn't something that you were, I'm sure you didn't expect that.
No, that's what, okay, like listening to myself, like obviously, I realized I said, wow, and that sounded so sarcastic. I wasn't being sarcastic, just like, I did not expect that.
Yeah.
I did not.
And another thing also, because, I of course, I've been in my industry for 15 years. And during the pandemic, that created a pause for everybody, right? And a lot of the things that kind of boomed during, especially the beginning of ECQ in March 2020, were food businesses. And I've always loved to cook. And friends, family, they'd be like, Max, you should start selling your food, just food orders and stuff. And for some reason, I just never thought that, because I've eaten out and tried so many other people's food so much, I never felt that I had it in me to actually do it. But during the pandemic, I did it. So I was, doing food orders. I was, delivering food within my community. Yeah, so I did orders, and so that was one of the things that I did.
I saw on Instagram, and correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't you start a food truck?
No, I didn't. What? No, I didn't. I didn't start a food truck.
Oops. Sorry. Wrong research.
No. I think you saw a photo that I posted on my cooking account with a food truck, and it said, if you
want to impress me with a car or a vehicle,
it better be a food truck.
Yeah.
No, I don't. That was always a dream of mine, to have a food truck. But I don't know. I mean, the thing about the food business and the thing about me is I'm purely artistic. Like, there's nothing about business that I know. But during the pandemic, if it's considered to be a food truck, to be hand delivering your food to every house to house, then that's what I was doing. But no, it wasn't a food truck.
No, I think it sounds great. I think it also sounds like some sort of community service, because as you said, you were giving food to people around you, and I find that sweet. Look at you. You can add that to your multifaceted, I guess, personality. Max Eigenmann, actress, gutter of fish, and food connoisseur. Food
delivery girl. Yeah, I was delivering food, and I was parang doing deliveries for other businesses so that they could tap my network and stuff. Yeah.
Got it.
Tap my community, which is my village.
Yeah. A lot of people also got into the whole buy and sell. Like, they started, I'm not sure if you also experienced this, but in our village we have this group chat where people exchange food
bartering.
Yeah.
I did that maybe once or twice with a few people. I exchanged my baked spaghetti for a chocolate cake. I think it was totally worth it.
And it's so crazy because I remember in our group chat there was this one dude who was saying, I'm willing to exchange my what do you call it, like a bicycle, like a stationary bike.
Okay, his workout bike.
Workout bike. Yeah. I'm willing to I'm willing to exchange this for ube pandesal, ube cheese pandesal.
No way! I wish I baked ube pandesal. I would love a stationary bike.
Because he was like, okay, I want to gain weight was his problem, and then I was like, wow, look at you, Mr. 1%. How I wish.
How I wish too. I mean, come on.
Here I am complaining about weight gain, and there's this person like, just give me food and I'll, give you my bike.
Right? How dare him? How dare you, whoever you are.
I know, sacrilege. But a while ago, I did say that you are an actress, and I feel like a lot of people know you as such. So I want to talk to you about that. Not acting per se, but I feel like it's so interesting to me to find out the different journeys of people as far as their passions is concerned and what they're doing in life is. So if you don't mind sharing to our listeners, how did you venture into acting? I know that you come from a family of actors, but was it one of those things that you were interested in as well as a child?
Actually, I was not. Well, maybe when I was maybe a little girl, like 5 or 6, then I showed a little bit of interest because I knew that my dad was in it. And at the time when I was that age, I did not know that my mom acted also pala, and that they met in a movie, that they met because they did a movie together. But I only found this out when I was older. But
It's so sweet.
right?
Sounds like a Taylor Swift song. I met you in a movie.
I cried. You were my leading man.
Sana all, ganun yung story.
Diba? So I didn't know it at the time, but I ventured into commercials when I was about 17, which I wanted to do earlier on, but I couldn't because I had braces. But I got this opportunity once. I met up with a certain network, and then they were gonna include me in the next roster of actors. And when I found out, I started crying because I felt that I wasn't prepared. I was 17 at the time, and then I continued with my commercials and modeling and traveling for that. And then when I was 20, I was older na, diba? I was 20. An audition piece or an audition for a role in a good show in a good network fell into my lap, and I was still iffy about it because of the first experience that I had, and the interest and the desire was not there. There was more hesitation than desire. But my dad, he came with me to my audition. He waited for me at the coffee shop downstairs, and after that, I got the role. But the story doesn't actually end there, because I was still hesitant. When we started shooting, I was like, oh my God, can I do this? I mean, at the time, I felt a little bit of pressure.
Yeah. I can imagine.
Not from anybody else, but the pressure that I was kind of giving myself, because most of everybody in my family who entered show business started when they were young. I'm 20 years old. Just overthinking about it, right? And I shot my first scene for the day, my first scene ever, and then the moment the director just said cut, there was just this rush that came over me, and I just really felt like, oh, this is for me.
Nice. Man.
So I was 20 years old when I started.
Aw. I feel like I'm still at the, and I'm so sorry if my bosses are listening to this, but I feel like I'm still at the age where I'm figuring out what I want to do in life. I'm still waiting for that moment for myself, and I feel like a lot of listeners as well maybe can relate to what I'm saying, that how I wish it came earlier. To me at least, like, I have yet to figure out what I want to do with my life is what I'm saying, but I'm so happy for you.
Thank you. I want to actually talk about that.
Oh yeah,
you.
go.
Now that you're saying that you still don't know and stuff like that, at the time it felt that way, and okay, now I know that I'm built and I love being an actress, but it wasn't until later that I realized that I have the same amount of passion for food.
Right.
I love to cook, and I always have. I've always loved to eat, which is why I learned how to cook very early. But the passion for food and actually making something of myself because of that only happened during the pandemic. So don't worry about it, Ryan. We always have room for more and more dreams. Seriously.
Got it. No, I never thought of it that way. I feel like I'm still at the stage that I maybe I am. You are right. Maybe I am hyper focusing on one thing when maybe a lot of things are open for me. Maybe.
And just because people have these, realizations at a certain age, it doesn't mean that you have to also.
I don't know if you've experienced this, but I'm at that age where all of my friends are either becoming doctors, lawyers, they're graduating from law school, med school. They're also, some of them are getting married. Some of them are getting married. And here I am, single. But it's so crazy to me. Like, some people at my age, not to make it all about me, but like some people at my age already know what they want to do for the rest of their lives. That's a long time.
Sounds boring to me. Just kidding. Just kidding, guys. No, I mean, that's everybody else. Why do we have to be like everybody else? I'm just like you. I mean,
That's
okay,
true.
I became a mother very, very early.
Ooh.
I was 18 when I had my first son, which is also why I ventured into having to work. Because I mean, it's a normal thing. It should be very normal to be talking about these things.
Yeah.
And I don't fit into the mold. I had my kid. I'm not married. I'm not, even though I'm 34 and I've been acting for 15 years and I've kind of ventured into a food business, I still don't have that mold where I'm like, I already know that I'm going to be this for the rest of my life. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that.
Got it. It's so funny because like as you were talking, a conversation with one of my friends came to my mind. It was all about imposter syndrome and how this friend of mine was saying a lot of us are actually dealing with insecurities and being unsure with what we're doing. Just that some of us are better at hiding it. That being said, I want to ask you: have you ever experienced imposter syndrome?
You mean hiding my insecurities?
Or you feel like you're pretending to be
Somebody else?
Yeah, like you feel like you're not good enough for what you're doing. Is basically the definition of imposter syndrome. Like, for example, me, I'm on radio I talk for a living and I do radio. But sometimes there's this part of me that thinks, oh, maybe I'm not good enough for the industry. Have you ever experienced that?
I feel that way about my cooking.
Your cooking,
Which is why I never pursued it before. No matter how much my friends and people that I love told me that I was very good at it, I never ever ever just took it upon myself. You know what? Just do it until the pandemic hit, because there was nothing else to do. So
Got it.
parang I feel like I'm not really a cook. I'm not.
Yeah.
But you know what? I am.
Yeah.
I'm just starting small. But how about you?
Yeah, no, definitely. Like, I feel like, and this is a general disclaimer that I give to people as a joke. But also you know how it is with humor. Sometimes there's a little truth to each and every joke that you make. I do this disclaimer. I'm one of the most insecure people that you will ever meet. But a lot of people are like, oh, talaga, or being but I am insecure in a way that I am unsure of a lot of things. Myself, my skills, my position in society. Position, by that I mean my role, my function. Why am I here in the world? Like all of those things.
I experienced the same thing also. Speaking of criticism after criticism, I grew up being told that I was fat.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I ventured into the industry that I'm in, I still heard it nonstop. So I always have this thinking that no matter how I had, it kind of became a reason why I started starving myself, or doing all these crash diets, or getting overly like, okay, I feel fat today, I'm gonna work out like crazy and then binge eat the next day. I was, I experienced this growing up, and it's funny how our environment truly makes a difference in how we think of ourselves.
I agree.
No matter what we say or think, there really is this standardized way of looking in terms of, especially when I was doing commercials and print ads. There's a certain body type that they're looking for. And this was back then. I don't know now. I mean, I haven't done commercials in 20 years. But this was back then. There was a certain and I've just never been a skinny person. I've never been skinny. I've always been, a little hello. Lots of love kind of girl. And, despite my desire to really want to be in the industry when I was younger. I mean, now, of course, I'm a lot more sure about myself now than back then. But this is talking about when I was younger. Despite how my desire to really want to be in the industry, there was always this, just like you said, kanina, just like crying into the
void.
This is why. What else can I do? I mean, in acting naman, there's such a thing before. I don't know now, because the soap that I'm doing now is my first in 7 years. So before, when I was way younger, I got a fat memo from the network.
A fat memo?
Like a memo that says it doesn't literally say you're too fat.
But that was the sentiment behind it.
Behind it, yeah. that you know.
How did you respond to that?
I cried a lot. Yeah.
Name drop this.
No, I'm not
I'm
gonna
kidding.
do that. I mean,
I'm kidding. I'm
And
kidding.
I don't think that it. I'm perfectly sure that I'm not the first person that it's happened to, but it's a norm. You know, back then, I really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
Sure, yeah.
okay. How do you and how did that affect you moving forward? Like because what you said, you're more sure now, but how was the journey like for you?
Well, you know, at the end of the day, that's also another reason why I stopped for a while. I was doing more independent cinema. Well, not naman the reason why, but I felt that if you really wanted to do something, no matter what it was, and no matter what obstacle it came with, including fat memos, including being told that, or including late nights, then if you're mentally and emotionally prepared for that, you will succeed. But at the end of the day, at the time, I wasn't prepared. And what I was saying about more sure of myself now is I am in a point where no matter how many obstacles will come my way, I know that I am strong enough mentally and emotionally to kind of just like, I didn't have that mindset when I was younger. Everything was just like, oh my God, no. Okay, so Ryan, going back to your question earlier about being more sure about myself, I think the difference between back then and now is because aside from a lot of the things that I wanted, which was to be an actress and to do good in my job, there were also other things that I wanted to do. I had a lot of other distractions. And right now, you know, 14, 12 years later, I know already my goals are set. And I didn't have that mindset before. I wasn't really a goal setter.
Neither am I.
And that's why I want to tell you that even if, you know, your peers and your friends are doing all these things already and they have all these goals set, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad thing that you're not. You know, because to be honest, my heart, the way I feel right now, I'm still the same person technically as I was when I was 20. I still feel like a kid. I'm 34 next month, but I don't feel, you know, when we're kids, and we look at like 20-year-olds or 30-year-olds, we're just like, oh my God, they're adults, they're still old. Oh my God. But really, I don't feel any older than I was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I just know more things, and I'm more sure about myself, and I know more about what I want.
And can I just emphasize how fast time flies? Like from
Oh
being,
my gosh.
from being that kid who goes looking at a 30-year-old tita, you're like, oh, tanda naman ng mga so old. And then now we are the titos
Yes,
and the
we are.
titas.
Oh my
We are the
gosh.
ones with the inaanaks na.
Yes,
Like, oh,
exactly.
wow.
And you know, when my kids' friends come over to the house, like pre-COVID, they're like, hi, tita. And I'm just like, oh boy.
You-
And there's like 6 teenagers calling me, hi, tita. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Get out of my household now. I do not deserve that disrespect.
But it's cute, diba? It's cute.
It's true, but it's crazy how time flies. A while ago, you said something that I wanted to talk to you about just because it's something that I feel like is very transformative for a lot of women's lives. You said that you're a mom.
I am a mom.
How was mother, or rather, let me rephrase that to how is motherhood for you right now?
It's amazing. You know, one of the best parts about when the pandemic hit was being able to hang out with my kids a lot more. Pre-COVID, well, specifically right before the
COVID,
pandemic
yeah.
hit. I mean, it was already there, but right before the lockdown last year, I was probably in and out of the house for 8 months. I was
Right.
shooting movies. I was going to film festivals, I was, or even if I'd go home, I'd be home late because I was shooting. I was actually shooting a digital series with Nicole
Ooh,
right about
yeah.
that time, and then right before it hit, I was in lock-in for an out-of-town movie shoot in Iloilo.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, like just the daily thing of being able to see my kids a lot was not there. So I was actually looking forward to being locked in with them. I mean, I didn't know that it was going to be for like a whole year, but that was an upside, and they're really great. You know, my older one is turning, well, he just turned 15, and then my younger one just turned 10. And despite the struggles of having to adjust to online, that was a struggle. The online. Oh boy.
Online classes.
The adjustment for online classes, I think was a bigger
Yeah.
adjustment for me
Than
than it
them.
was for them.
Right. Sorry, for context, both are boys.
Both are
right?
boys. I have 2 sons, Sandro
it.
and Massey.
Yeah.
Sandro's the older one. He's 15. Massey's 10, the younger one.
What do you mean by that though? Like it was a bigger adjustment for you than the kids.
Well, because they were home all day long. No. And it's also because, like, having to help them with stuff. Well, it was actually more my younger one. My older one is very independent when it comes to his school. My younger one needed a little bit of help with his math or whatever, and I'm actually really thankful because during this time my mom stepped in. I realized during this pandemic that I am not cut out for tutoring. I try, but my patience is just not
Too
as good
short,
as my
yeah.
mom's. So my mom stepped in with that, and I really appreciate her for that.
No, my voice just broke right now. No, but like,
Binata ka pa daw kasi.
no, like, the reason why I bring that up is because a lot of my friends who are moms, or a lot of my friends, who had to help with their younger siblings had the same sentiments. They're like, yep, no, teaching my younger sibling or my son, being the teacher in the house, is something that is so foreign to them. And right now, at least a lot of the moms out there, a lot of the older siblings are having a newfound appreciation for teachers.
Oh yeah, like the respect is like, wow. And
Yeah.
to handle 30 kids at once as opposed to just 1 or 2.
Yeah, and to think that they handle like 30 kids
Exactly.
per hour.
Yes.
And every hour you have to face a new set of 30 kids. A lot of my friends are like, I can't even handle one.
Yep, exactly.
And for my friends who are moms, they're like, and this is my kid.
I'm supposed to have more patience.
Exactly.
Yeah, and and it was during the pandemic, syempre, we didn't have a helper pa for 1 year. So it was a big adjustment for everybody. Like, my kids had to help out with chores, which I think was a good thing to instill in them.
Got it.
And that. So, they're cool. Like, I feel like we're growing up together.
Well, that's nice. My next question was supposed to be, what's the connection like now that you guys have been locked in for a year? But I feel like you kind of already answered that.
Yeah,
You
I
guys
feel
are-
like we're growing up together. Well, it's funny because the change, especially with my teenager, in his demeanor, even the way he looks, the way he talks, changed so much in a course of the last year and a half. And it was a blessing for me, despite how frustrating it could be to be with a teenager and a 10-year-old every day for a year.
I can imagine.
I felt so it was a nice feeling for me to be able to see that, because if it wasn't for the pandemic, I wouldn't actually have been there so much and seeing these things. Because last year my son's voice wasn't as low as it is now. He's like talking like this now, and it was a bit high pa last year. He grew 3 inches in a year, and my little one, who's not as affectionate as his older brother is or was when he was that age, he's so affectionate with me now. And I think that's because, we're together because of the pandemic. We're together all the time. Like, because he's so used, my younger one is so used to me not being around because of work or whatever. Since he was small, because I was busiest, like, because by the time that he was born, that was when I was working a lot na and stuff like that. And now he's a lot more affectionate to me. And I love that. Like today, you look so nice, Mama. I haven't seen you dress up in so long. You look so pretty. You're gonna do well. Yeah.
I would have been like, ano kailangan mo?
Oh my. Tapos yung isa naman, where are you going? I'm going to guest in a podcast. Okay, bye. Take care.
Typical teenager.
Yeah.
Oh, but you know what? Having said all of that, what is one thing that you've come to realize about yourself, thanks to the whole locked in period, being locked in with your sons? What's one thing that you've realized about yourself?
I didn't realize that I was capable of being a patient person. I've never been very good at patience or kind of just filtering my emotions when it comes to dealing with other people. I would always either, burst out or cry or just kind of get stressed and want to like run away. And I learned so much about myself in a sense that, first of all, I've never been used to being at home so much that I was basically from being somebody that worked so much to somebody that was just always home and then no helper So I didn't realize that I could actually instill these chores and stuff to my kids and kind of tell them na parang, I both of them asked me to teach them specific dishes to cook. Basically, I didn't realize that I could be as much of a mom, this kind of mom to them as I was during the pandemic. Because I was never around much enough to actually experience how they really are like at home.
Got it. I was talking to a friend who recently became a mom, and she was sharing with me that one of her fears is that motherhood's gonna completely take over her life, and that because my friend was saying that she views herself as a person with many hats, or rather a person who wears many hats. One of them is motherhood, but she doesn't want to lose those things that make her the individual and not the mom.
I love your friend. No, that's awesome because I've known a lot of people that they don't realize that a certain part of their life is taking over, and then they suddenly wake up and realize that I lost myself. Oh, I wanted to also highlight pala. One of the other things that I did not realize I had in me during the pandemic was to be the kind of daughter that I'm realizing now, because my relationship with my mom has never been this good. And it was because of the pandemic that it kind of really strengthified is not even a word.
Let's make it
but
a word.
That's how I feel about it.
Let's make it a word.
It was strengthified. A relationship talaga. So yun lang. I just wanted to share that.
Oh no, that's beautiful. Me on the other hand, I'd say it's the opposite with me and my mom. I feel like because of the pandemic and because now I'm seeing her a lot. For context, because I got so used to living by myself that during the pandemic I gave up I gave up basically my place in Pasig, and then I started living with my mom, which I haven't done in about probably 8 years. So
you've been living on your own since you were 16?
Yes.
Wow.
So I don't know if it's a high five
sorry.
or if it's like a sad.
No. I mean, I think that being independent is a good thing. That's the part that we're gonna celebrate. None of the sad stuff that came with it. Sorry.
No. What I realized amidst pandemic was, wow, I've been so distant to my mom, and maybe also because like our family culture isn't exactly like, oh, kamusta ka na? Oh, I love you. Because some families are like that, and good on them. Na parang every morning they're supposed to wake up, say good morning to their moms and dads. I know somebody who even required sa kanila, and she's in her 30s, required sa kanila na they go to their mom and dad's room in the morning and say good morning. That's their ritual. For us kasi parang no.
It's like you give each other space and stuff like that.
And then amidst pandemic, I realized I've been a horrible child. Like I've been a distant child. So I'm trying to make up for it now. So I think it's beautiful that as to use your words, that your relationship with your mom was strengthified.
Oh, diba? We have a new word. We're making our own dictionary, guys.
I know. No, but going back a while ago to what I was saying, as to how my friend was sharing that she was afraid of how she was gonna lose, like her as the individual to her the mom. Did you ever experience that as well, like that fear?
This is actually why I mentioned earlier that I never got to be this close type of mom to the kids until now in the recent years. It's because, I basically no, I never had that fear.
Got it. Yeah, no, and I think that's
I
wonderful.
was, and I feel like nga yung mindset ko dati, parang feeling ko may kinulang ako when they were younger. Yun yung feeling ko. I mean, they lived with me all their lives. Like, I had my first son when I was 18. I got my own place when I was 19. We and I had my second when I was 23. They were with me, but there was always yayas. I was busy pa rin, like working and living my life. I was still going out with friends, and I was very young. Basically, imagine me at your age right now with 2 children. Yeah. I don't there was a little bit of guilt back then, but like it goes hand in hand with everything that I told you. It goes back to our conversation earlier when I said na this is why I know that I'm more sure of myself now. Because I know that I'm an actor and that's my job. I know that I'm a great cook and I know that I'm a mom and all of these things are what's important to me.
Yeah.
And I was always unsure of of course my kids have always been number one in my life. But the expression of how I showed it when I was younger, I feel like it was kulang back then.
Got it. No, definitely. I can relate in a weird way. Not that I'm a mom, but I can relate just because
As a child, like as the child.
as the child. Yeah. But I had this conversation with my mom. Because much like yourself, my mom did have me when she was young, and she was telling me that, hey, you know what? We kind of like to use your words. This is so funny to me. She said we kind of grew up together. My mom had me when she was in med school. So a lot of the things that a mom was supposed to be doing for me was done by another person because she was busy studying, she was busy with exams and all that. But I was also telling my mom, and this is the same thing that I would want to tell you. I feel like being a good mom is overrated.
There's different ways of showing your love
Yeah.
talaga.
And the concept of being a good mom, for me at least, and again, it's so funny that a 24-year-old dude is saying this. And feel free to shoot me in the internet if ever you feel like I'm reaching too much. But for me, kasi the concept of being a good mom, or just the word good in of itself, is so strange just because it comes with morality. Like if you're saying you're a good mom, then there's a bad mom. But what I was telling my mom was, you were an effective mother. And for me, that's more than enough.
Yeah.
So I think, again, just going back to what you were saying, that back then you had feelings of pagkukulang. And also here in the Philippines, for some reason, we put mothers on a pedestal. So that also doesn't help with the pressure of being
Exactly.
a mom.
And you know, I was so young and there's that stigma kasi teenage mom. You know, I cannot count how many times people asked me, so yung anak mo nakatira sa parents mo when I was at that age. And I was like, I'm in place. I mean, now I'm back with my mom because now it makes sense. I should have known better. There's a reason pala why people were asking me that. Now, back then is because I was a teenager. I wasn't built as a person. I was starting to work pa lang and I already had a kid, but I just felt okay, I know what I'm doing. That's also why I felt that kumulang ako before, because the decisions that I made back then with regard to what I knew was best, what I thought was best for my kids, it was the best that I could do at the time. But yeah, parang I feel like yun nga, kulang and stuff. But now
But I'm happy.
mommyhood is the best. No, really, I miss them na nga eh.
Let's wrap up now. Let's go. I'm kidding. No, but like you know what? I'm happy that you have that realizations, and I'm happy to hear that. Again, to use your word, that your relationship with your own mom is strengthified. I'm just like super happy hearing these stories. Another thing that I want to talk about to you, or with you about, is you mentioned a while ago that you do have this love for food, which we kind of talked about in the beginning, but can you talk to me about that more in detail?
It's the first time I ever that I actually remember cooking was and during this, because my mom and dad were separated when I was very young. So I would see my dad once a year or like whatever, but there was a family trip that we had in Pampanga, my grandmother's province. And the whole family was there. My dad's siblings, my cousins, me, my grandparents. And my dad kasi is a great cook. You're probably cooking up there. He's a great cook. And I remember I wanted to help him, right? Daddy, can I help you in the kitchen? And then he goes, you can make the scrambled eggs. So I made the scrambled eggs for everybody. That was the first thing I learned how to make.
How did you, if you can still remember, how did you know how to make a scrambled egg?
I watched people in the kitchen talaga ever since. And I remember because I have this cousin, Miko. She's also my best friend. I spent this is on my mom's side, I spent summers and Christmas breaks with her every year when we were kids. And her mom is a great cook. My mom kasi she's one of the sisters among my mom's siblings that doesn't enjoy cooking. She just doesn't like it. But I remember so much that my Miko's mom, Tita Yamin, was cooking so much, and I would always just watch her in the kitchen, or I would ask if I could help with something, and I would just watch. Even my yaya, I would just watch and watch and watch and watch. And the first time that I actually got to apply all the things that I was watching was when my dad said, "You know what? Go ahead. You can do it." And I did it.
Did you also do this thing when, because I experienced this, I don't know if you did, but as a kid you're afraid of like frying because of the mantika going everywhere?
Well, I was afraid to make fried eggs because of the splatter. And I remember I kept trying and trying because
Yeah.
I was able to do the scrambled eggs. They weren't as fluffy as I would experience it when somebody else made it, but I was able to cook it. But yeah, the frying part was scary for me in a sense that instead of breaking it like that, I would always break it like, and then apparently that made it worse. It would just go psh,
Yes.
and then the yolk would always break. But eventually, I got over the fear and
Yeah.
I was okay with it now.
Do you cook for your kids?
All the time.
What do they? What
I
do
just
they
made I made them. I woke up at 5 today, a.m.
Uh-huh.
to make them beef stew because it takes 6 hours
Oh wow.
to simmer. So I started
Uh-huh.
simmering it at 5:30. I should have made it yesterday, but I made it this morning so that they have a nice lunch before I left.
Uh-huh. What do they think about your cooking? Do they enjoy, or are they one of those kids that parang, yeah, Mom, you know what? Everybody might say you're a good cook, but it's a bit salty.
But so of course there are some days not every dish is perfect, and they would say it naman. Especially my older one, because my older one, his taste buds are quite developed.
Right.
He was the kind of kid that ate everything. Like I took him to Spiral when he was about 6, and he attacked the chicken feet, the lobster tails, and rice.
The reason why I asked that question is because just the other day I was watching videos of Gordon Ramsay and his family, because he has this whole kind of like a very, it's so funny because it's very Filipino. Like he has a vlog featuring his family.
I know, and his daughter Tilly, who also cooks.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, his daughter always goes, "Dad, this isn't good. Dad, this is too salty. Dad, this is bland." Gordon Ramsay. And like, so I was wondering, like, because maybe your kids are also like that.
My older one sometimes like, "Mama, this is a little bit too salty, and maybe it would have been better if you added this type of vegetable and not this vegetable." But the little one is just like, "Mama, it's so good." But speaking of pintas, early this year, I took the kids to Boracay for 2 weeks. Anyway, we tried this place. Well, I made them try this place that I like a lot. It's called Smoke Boracay. I love it. And Massey, my younger one, was trying it, and then he goes, "Mama, you're a really, really good cook. But this one's really good.
Ay.
Is that okay?"
That is so innocent, though. That's so cute.
"Is that okay? Parang sorry."
How did you respond?
No, I was like, "Of course that's okay, Massey. They're a great restaurant. That's why I took you guys here.
Yeah.
I only get inspiration from everything else that I try. I'm not a chef, but thank you for telling me that I cook well." And
That is so innocent.
yeah, my older one also, he gets sawa easily. Like, if he tells me he likes a certain thing, I have this habit of making it too often that he's just like, "I'm sick of it now."
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of your kids, while we're talking about them, you mentioned that your eldest is 15 and then the youngest is 10, which is, I mean, for the 15-year-old, quite near adulthood, if I may use that term very loosely. But is there something that you're looking forward to as far as experiencing things with your kids is concerned when they become adults? Like,
Yeah, I really want Sandra to start driving for me. Seriously.
driving.
Or at least like dropping me off in places. Pick me up later.
Galing.
Come on, child. Get your license already.
It's my turn.
Drive for me.
One of my friends who is a mom told me na because her son recently turned 22.
Oh, wow.
And nung as he turned 22, the son goes, "Mom, by the way, my girlfriend na pala ako for 3 years."
Oh my gosh. You know what? That gives me that makes me remember something. I asked my 15-year-old last year. He was 14 pa lang. I was like, "So babe, you're gonna tell me naman if you have a girlfriend na, right?" And then he goes, "Yeah, but maybe after like 1 or 2 years that I'm already dating."
did you respond to that?
I was like, I'm gonna know anyway. That's what I said.
No, but you know what? It's just so crazy because I have this notion that you cannot lie to your moms. You cannot. Like they will know everything about you, your train of thought, even before you're thinking it. Like for some weird reason, moms, I feel like, have that sixth sense.
Yeah, they really. I think we really do. Let's hope so.
So during those rare occasions that you can hide something from your mom and take your, I feel like, take your mom truly by surprise, because sometimes I feel like my mom acts surprised whenever I do something.
Aww,
but her acting really isn't that great. She's like, oh wow, I'm surprised. So during those rare occasions that kids surprise moms, I feel like it is such a treasure, or it's such a funny moment, depending on the situation, of course, whether it's a good surprise or a bad surprise.
Yeah.
But when was the last time you were surprised by your kids?
With Massey, it's always usually like school activities that they have to draw stuff, then he'll give it to me. But Sandro, this one I remember very well. We had a little argument that day. He was maybe 11 or maybe 11 or 12. And we had a little argument. I don't even remember what the argument was about. But it was morning, he went to this was after school, and then the next day he went to school, and then I don't know if I went somewhere, but when I got home from the day after our fight and he was already back in school, there was an egg sandwich, a grilled egg and cheese sandwich, and a note on my bed.
Aww.
Saying sorry.
Aww. I was never that sweet.
I told you nga, diba? Affectionate siya. Like, he's like me. He's affectionate like me. Whereas Massey, the younger one, is not as affectionate. Like, he now lang talaga. Like, this morning, I took a nap kasi because I woke up early to make the beef stew, right?
Yeah.
I took a nap around 10:30. But I was not really completely dead asleep. I felt him come inside my room and then he kissed my forehead, my younger one.
Aw,
yeah,
that's so sweet.
Yeah, and I was like, but he wasn't like this before, so it's quite nice. It's very nice, actually.
Man, like, again, going back to my realization, I wasn't a sweet kid, or maybe still not a sweet son. Maybe I should change that. Thank you for today's podcast.
You don't need to change. Something. You know what? Regardless of how affectionate or non-affectionate you are, because our affections as children and parents, we show it in different ways.
Yeah, that's true.
Everybody has different love languages. Massey just used to not be a physical person where he kisses me or likes to hug or stuff like that. Whereas Sandro is. Well, Sandro now, he doesn't really like to hug anymore because he feels like he's
15.
Exactly.
A teenager.
Yeah. But whatever the case, your mom, as well as me being a mom, we love our kids the way they are. So don't you worry about that, Brian.
Thank you for that. Sige, I'll continue not showing affection. Alam mo naman yan, Mom. I'm kidding.
You're an effective parent.
Oh, you're effective. Okay na yan. I didn't go to jail. Or maybe,
Let's not start now.
I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of love languages, I'm just curious. What's yours?
Gift
giving.
Not gift. Sorry. Acts of service.
Acts of service. Got it. Me on the other hand,
and hugs also. I'm
physical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a physical person.
Me on the other hand, I feel like I'm quality time is a love language, if I'm not mistaken. And it's so funny because when I took the exam, it said that I do have my secondary love language as physical touch as well. But when I shared that online, my friends were like, parang hindi naman.
Ako super, kahit sa friends ko. Tsaka kahit acquaintances, close acquaintances that I see pre-COVID, ha?
Yeah. No, me even
now. It was hard. Parang when I now, but pre-COVID, like if for example, Ryan, if this was not in COVID times, the moment I met you, I would have given you a hug. That's the type of person I am. Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
And if I see you again outside, I'm the type of Ryan, ganyan, I'm really a hugger talaga.
I'm the opposite.
So you're not physical touch.
Yun nga, that's why my friends were
Mali yung test.
Parang hindi naman.
Pre-test.
I'm very mindful of people's space, like personal space, and also very mindful of my own. So even before COVID, my go-to greeting would be to not even extend a hand. Like I would bow like a weirdo.
Yeah.
But that would be like my initial greeting. Of course, ibang usapan na. For example, if I'm with like really close friends or my partner, for example. But physical touch, even before COVID, I did the whole bowing thing. So which basically comes as a surprise to a lot of my friends nga na physical touch daw ako. Or maybe you are right. Mali yung test.
Yeah, ako ano talaga, acts of service. And specifically, I love cooking for people. That's an act of service, right?
Yes, definitely. We talked about you being an actress. We talked about you being a mom. We talked about you being a cook as well. What is one thing that people might be surprised about Max Eigenmann when you share this one thing to them? Like one trait about you, or one maybe passion project, or one quality that you have that might surprise a lot of people.
It was really cooking for a long time, but I had revealed that na rin kasi earlier on during the pandemic, I made the cooking account. I love yoga.
Yoga.
I love yoga. Super. I've been practicing on and off since my first son was born, but regularly I've been practicing for 7 years. Yoga and fitness in general. Yoga I've been doing regularly for 7 years, but with regard to like the health part and kind of being more mindful about my physical health and how that actually affects your mental health, I only kind of learned about that aspect of myself in the last 2 years, 3 years maybe, more so during the pandemic.
I tried yoga. The operative word is try.
That's okay.
And it's one of those things that I feel like I'm just not cut out for.
That's perfectly fine.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, not every single thing is for everybody.
Yeah.
So yoga just happens to be for me.
Yeah, no, but I want to hear from you. Like, what is it about yoga that you love?
Well, apart from the physical effects that it has done to me, it's really more of the mental part. Because yoga, for me, it teaches you to be mindful of where you are right now. Because you know how, like, if you're doing something at the moment, you're actually thinking about a lot of other stuff. And that's kind of a really bad habit of mine, which is why I get stressed out so easily. I've always found it very, and I'm still working on it. I've always found it very difficult to focus on what's happening right now. And, you know, even the social media part, you're like in somewhere and you're checking your phone and whatever. Being present has always been something difficult for me to do because I'm always thinking about what happened yesterday. Or I'm always stressing out about, oh no, what's going to happen next week at this whatever work that I have to do or whatever event that I have to attend or whatever bills I have to pay.
Yeah.
And with yoga, I learned that even during that 1 hour that I'm giving myself, it's an entire hour that I'm just giving specifically for myself. Just kind of feeling the moment and just kind of clearing my mind. I mean, and when you say meditate or clear your mind, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're not thinking about anything. But basically, you're just thinking about right now, I'm going to step my foot forward and this feels good. Okay, there's pain in my leg, but it's just being present. And that kind of makes me reset myself and it makes me start my day on a good note.
Got it. Yeah.
I can't explain it in a way that everybody else will understand because how it affects me and what it does for me, it's difficult to share it if you've never experienced it yourself. And I'm sure that the same experience that I get from yoga, people experience the same thing with other things and other aspects of their life. For me, it just happens to be yoga. I love it.
No, I love what you said. Specifically, your physical health also affects your mental health. Because I don't know if I've shared this at the beginning of the podcast or off the air, but I have gained a lot of weight, and that has affected my mental health quite recently. Also, it doesn't help that an ex of mine also uploaded like a picture, and you know when your ex suddenly becomes hot. And you become the dusty ex-boyfriend.
You know, these things are just things that you should just put in the baul and just use it as motivation.
Exactly.
But if I may, Ryan, you look great.
Thank you. Maybe also because I got so used to maybe like a certain figure, or at least like all throughout college, it was never really a problem for me. Your metabolism slows down, I think, when you get older.
I get to 30.
So, yeah, I cannot agree more. Your physical health does affect your mental health.
Definitely. And I didn't know that before because, of course, when you're feeling doubtful of stuff or when you're feeling stressed out about stuff, the first thing that you would do is try to shut it off
Yeah.
and not realize that every other thing and every decision that you make for that day affects how you actually feel about yourself.
Uh-huh.
And it's only now, I'm 33, turning 34 next month, that I realize that all these little things that you decide, all these small factors in the day affect how you think and how you feel about yourself. So everything, all these reactions that you give to the world, it all starts from inside. I know that sounds really cliche, but it's true. Because no matter how bad a situation is, it only makes it worse if you react to it in a bad way. Don't get me wrong, I don't handle every situation really well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. But learning to be in that headspace where I'm able to kind of where I'm able to decide or differentiate that I could actually handle the situation better, yoga helped me get to that headspace. And I'm still learning.
Got it. Yeah. Have you ever tried doing yoga with other people? Is it?
Of course. That's where I started. I took classes.
Have you ever tried with your children? Are they into yoga?
Sandra has taken one class with me in a physical space, in a physical studio a long time ago. And he does taekwondo, so he's just like, "Oh my God, Mama, that's so much harder than taekwondo and stuff."
It is. And you know what? A lot of people have this misconception that yoga, madali lang yan. That's easy. Dude, try it.
When people say, "Isn't that like just stretching?" I'm just like, my eye goes.
It twitches. Yeah, it does.
Do you really think that I could do like all these things if all I just did was stretch?
You sweat a lot when
and the sweat is different because of all the twists and
Yes.
stuff. Because every posture targets your organs and stuff and detoxifies. So the sweat is iba. It's like ammonia. It's so acid. Sorry to be so
Yeah,
vulgar about it, but it's true.
I did not realize that, but
Yeah.
it is true. Oh, I don't know that I'm thinking. Well, I've only tried yoga like a couple of times with friends also. But I realized that it's the whole balance thing. Maybe I need to work on it, as I've said a while ago. But I prefer water sports just because I feel like there's also that maybe that serenity that you feel when you're doing yoga is what I feel when I'm underwater.
See, you
Yeah.
experience the same thing.
Yeah.
But with other stuff, see, just because, I mean, I hate it when people say, or like when people, not naman hate it, but I'm not, I don't perceive myself as one of those na parang, try yoga. Oh my God. What? No, you're gonna love it. Come on, just try. I'm not,
Got
like,
it.
it just so happens that that's what it does for me. I'm sure everybody else has that one thing that gives them the same feeling that I get from yoga.
Definitely.
You get it from water sports.
Yeah, I get it from water
Right?
sports. Yeah, and I guess another thing that I just want to share as far as yoga is concerned is I was having this conversation with a friend who is of the Catholic faith, and I remember her sharing to me na because she's also into yoga. And one of her religious leaders, one of the church leaders, basically said that, "Hey, you're not supposed to be doing yoga, because it's against the faith." That being said, I want to know: are you Catholic?
I'm actually born again.
Born again,
Christian, yeah.
Got it. And if I may know, is doing yoga or is practicing yoga something that is against your faith? And how do you feel about that? Whenever people say that?
I've never been told that it's against my faith or that it's a sin or stuff like that. But at the end of the day, kasi I'm not really a religious or a religion based person. I do have faith. I have my, I pray.
Yeah.
I pray before I eat. I pray in my own time, and I feel that my higher power is not against my yoga practice. I was always the type of person that didn't think that asking a lot of questions was a bad thing. Because that's how we learned, diba? But yeah, questioning authority, that was my thing. I remember having really good grades in school, but
I cannot relate.
I was very naughty in a sense that I would skip class before, or
Now
like,
I can relate.
or like sneak a cigarette in the school bathroom and stuff like that. I was that kid,
Oh man.
But
Speaking of kalokohan when we were in university,
Oh boy.
I want to ask you this just because I feel like a lot of moms and dads also have this conversation. When your kids go to university, how would you react if they start sharing na they are doing some of the kalokohans that you did when you were in university?
You know what? I would actually prefer that they shared it naman talaga with me. I would not. I mean, I don't know how I'll handle it then, but I don't think that I would be. I'm not gonna hide the fact that I did the same things. If that is where your question was going, I would be honest about it. I wouldn't, like I wouldn't. I don't think, or I don't want to kind of like make them think or look at me as this person na parang this is what I should be, or this is the type of person. I don't want them to feel pressure from that. I want them to feel that, it's part of life. You go through these things. But I want them to be honest, syempre, so that I could guide them. Kasi na-experience ko na eh. So the things that I was doing before, kung ano mga kalokohan yun, if they're open to me, then I could guide them accordingly so that they could actually not experience some of the worst parts that I experienced. Diba?
Got it. No, I think that's such a beautiful sentiment, and at the same time, I feel like that's every parent's wish. At least I've been told. Again, I can only go as far as like what my friends are sharing, what my mom shared with me. What you said a while ago struck a chord. Not in a negative way, but you said I hope that my kids would be open to me.
Yeah.
And I think that's also a mark of a good mom. Sorry, let me rephrase that. That's a sign that you did your job well as a mom. Like you were an effective mom because your kids are open to these things. That being said, another thing that I want to ask you is, have you ever had like an awkward conversation with your kids, just as far as being a parent is concerned? Because you know how sometimes like as parents, we have, well, not we, obviously not me, but like as parents, you guys have to direct your kids a certain way and tell them that this is bad or that's good. But as kids, they don't fully understand what you're saying. So have you ever had an awkward conversation with your kids, and how did you I guess cope with it, or how did you handle it?
Well, diba earlier I mentioned to you that I had asked my son if he would tell me if he had a girlfriend now.
Yeah.
The conversation came about because he was telling me about somebody that he liked.
Ooh.
And I joked, but so it was a very comfortable conversation between the both of us. So I kind of, that's when the question came in for me na parang, babe, if you're gonna have a girlfriend, you're gonna tell mama naman, diba, ganyan. And then he goes, yeah, but maybe in a year. And then I kind of found an opening to talk about safe sex. He was still young, 13 or 14, but parang I didn't scientifically explain it. But I mean, I'm not gonna go into detail of what we talked about because
definitely,
because it was a very one word thing, and he was just like, "Oh my gosh, mom, I know, stop, no."
Typical teenager reaction.
No, because
yeah.
I mean, when are you gonna talk about it? When they're never talk about it?
Yeah.
I it may be taboo to some people, but we have been teenagers. We have been curious about stuff, no matter how early or late it was.
Yeah.
But because he was telling me about a girl that he liked, I felt that it was a timing na I didn't naman go into detail with him na ganito, but I just told, I just kind of like slid it in there na, when you have a girlfriend na, it's like this, like that, and then he was just like, mama, I know what you're talking. So that was the awkward conversation.
No, you know what? I remember listening to Dr. Rika Cruz, who is a known sex therapist here in the Philippines, and she said something along the lines of sex education should be taught when kids are still young.
Yeah.
And she was advocating that it be taught in school, like even as young as kindergarten.
But it's not taught in school.
It's not exactly. Because you are right. Kailan yung pag-uusapan yan, diba? And it's better that it comes from the parents, or it comes from people who are equipped to talk about it, like educators.
So you can't say, don't have sex.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Right, diba? You know what? You're this is what's gonna happen if you do it. Blah, 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 blah.
No, thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate it. I remember talking to Max a while ago before we started recording the podcast that you know how it is when you're doing a podcast. you get feedback as you go along. And one of the things that what our producer told me is that the first episode with Nicole Asensio was a bit too formal. You can loosen it up a bit. Is their peg? And here I am coming from a news background, coming from a radio background. I was taught not to interrupt guests. I was taught not to share things from my experience, because it has to be like all about you. That was my background. So I appreciate that you're sharing a lot. Thank you for that.
Thank you also for sharing with me. I had fun today.
No, it was our pleasure. Again, thank you so much for gracing us with your presence, Max. As we wind down on this podcast, where can people find you? Instagram, any upcoming projects? The floor is yours.
Thank you. First of all, I want to say thank you for having me, Ryan, and Neo Netro 105.9 FM. Again, this is Max Eigenmann. You guys could follow me on Instagram at Max Eigenmann, as you can see below. And I'd like to invite you to please watch out for my upcoming show called Stories of the Heart, Never Say Goodbye, coming very, very soon on GMA, starring Clea Pineda, Jack Roberto, Lauren Young, Snooki Serena, as well as other fantastic actors, and of course myself, and directed by Paul Santa Ana. So there you go, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. It was my pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much, Max. And as a final question, because we always want to end the podcast on a positive note, given that it's crazy to me, we're still going through a lockdown a little over a year after the pandemic hit, what words of encouragement can you give to our listeners?
Well, like I told you earlier, everything that is not our control can only be made better with how we react to it. So just stay positive, guys. We will get through this together.
Got it. Wonderful. Again, the beautiful, the lovely Max Eigenmann. And that has been another episode of Neo Retro 105.9's Casual Conversations.
Thanks,
bye, guys.
Bye. Hi, everybody. This is Max Eigenmann. Thank you so much for having me on Neo Retro 105.9's Casual Conversations, only on The One.